Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Inspirational Women series. Today, we are here on social media platform going live with our inspirational series. I have a beautiful guest today with me, an inspirational woman, all the from India. She's Caroline Fernandes. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, nice to be here, Ruby, and thank you for what you do, all the inspiring work that you drive and lead, and I'm most honored to have this conversation with you.
The pleasure is both ways. It's an amazing journey that you have been having, and I have been seeing you on LinkedIn, where we both met through this LinkedIn for a women movement, which is almost a
Yeah, you're
year
right.
ago. Yes, remember? You were the ambassador from India, and I was chosen ambassador from Switzerland, and that's how we connected.
That's probably over a year ago, I mean, I'm not sure the timeline, but it feels like it's a year.
Exactly, exactly. It's been a year now.
Wonderful.
So it's been amazing since the time I have been seeing you. I have been watching you, all the great things that you have been doing. It's just amazing.
Thank
so
you. I'm most
Caroline,
honored. Thank you.
so Caroline, she's an international speaker, an amazing international speaker. She's a coach as well as a social entrepreneur. She has been in a lot of wonderful projects all over, which I've been following on LinkedIn. So, Caroline, tell us something about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, I love community, but more importantly, I love providing safe spaces for people to understand themselves, recognize their strengths, and grow.
Mhm.
So I'm an international speaker, an international coach, and also social entrepreneur. Um, yeah, so that's a bit about me.
All right. And how did you start your journey as a social entrepreneur? Why do you call yourself as a social entrepreneur? What is it?
So I really believe I started out the line over here with the word community, right?
Hmm.
I have grown to understand over the last maybe 10, 12 years the importance and the value of feeling like you belong.
Hmm.
This was a feeling that, growing up, I didn't really experience fully and was
Hmm.
always searching for. And I didn't realize this until I started my own deep work within myself about 6, 7 years ago through meditation and through coaching and having master coaches.
Hmm.
And that was pretty much around the time that I started Viva as a community. While I wanted to start Viva a very, very long time ago, sometime around, when my son was a toddler,
Uh-huh.
it didn't really happen. There were so many other things going on. But 2014, I really jumped into it when I was starting my business. I started the community under the belief that, people who feel psychologically safe, people who are emotionally supported,
Hmm.
feel okay to be authentic. I think we are currently living in times where, yes, the word authenticity is talked about a lot,
Hmm.
but I think there's so much scope for it to be deepened, not
Yes.
amplified, but deepened
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
the perspective of providing, just letting, people know that it's okay wherever they are.
True.
And the other thing is that I've realized that a lot of times we don't need to tell people that we need to be it. We need to be okay with who we are.
Exactly.
A lot of parental conditioning, a lot of school conditioning, a lot of cultural conditioning has stopped us from looking at, we want to project ourselves as being good, good versus bad. There's this duality. And
Exactly.
because of this, we push parts of ourselves which we are ashamed of. Therefore, we are not, willing at some unconscious level to come out. But
Hmm.
spaces, communities, including spaces within ourselves,
Hmm.
where we can hold space for ourselves and say, I'm looking at my anger, I'm looking at my rage right now without judgment. These are very
Hmm.
powerful things to do and facilitate for ourselves and for others. And this was something that I learned. I facilitate. I'm a champion of inclusion for
Mm-hmm.
several platforms, and not just in India, but in other places as well, including the UK, as well as Viva. Therefore, I have given myself that title because I believe that the construct of society must dissolve if
Mm-hmm.
we need to allow a more authentic community to evolve, a more authentic community to come out. Look
Very
right
true.
now, look at where society is right now. The kind of battles that we are fighting are not new.
Mm-hmm.
They are very, very old, centuries old. We're talking about color, we're talking about gender,
Mm-hmm.
and these are all external constructs, but we're living them right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Very
And
true.
therefore, this tells us because of the breakdown that we are going through, this is a very, very pivotal moment in our civilization. We can use this to break through. We can use
Exactly.
this to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going down, we can go up. We can rise above
Mm-hmm.
that. You know, in yesterday's LinkedIn post, I had spoken about that, about how President Nelson Mandela, even
Mm-hmm.
though he was in prison and he went through so much of, harshness in his life, he came out
Mm-hmm.
with compassion, especially for the people who put him there. I think that is a very powerful example of how we can be compassionate for ourselves first,
Mm-hmm.
and allow those things to show up. So yeah, to your point, that is some of the things that have led me through this journey.
Mm-hmm. Very true, very true. All the things that you are saying, it's like so much resonating with the present scenario that we are facing. We are talking about all those things, but there are very few people who are actually, into it. There are a lot of people who are doing passive listening. They are there, but they are not doing anything which will definitely bring about a change. And for that, when there are problems that are happening all over, whether it's in the field of education, whether it's in corporate, wherever, whenever, we need to do something about it. And I think for that we have to educate the masses, and at the same time have a
Absolutely.
deep listening, like listen to the problems, listen to the issues, not just be a passive listener, but be active and do something about it. There has to be, like when we say, in the words of Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, when we say, be the change you want to see in the world. Unless
Yeah.
you won't see, unless you won't listen properly, how are you going to do that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's your take on deep listening, Caroline?
So, seeing as how, we have kind of co-created this theme today around deep listening,
Mm-hmm.
I really, really feel, and this is something that I myself have been investing in developing better and
Mm-hmm.
trying to get better at. It's a
Mm-hmm.
process, right? We're always growing, we're always evolving. I really feel that. Let me ask you a question, and this is not just to you, it's to our viewers as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a time when someone really showed up and listened to you? You don't have to answer, you just have to
Mm-hmm.
think about it. Think about that time when someone really showed up and listened to you without judgment
Mm-hmm.
and was present for you.
Very deep meaning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you amplify that, what's going on in your mind and in your heart right now? Amplify that experience and imagine societies, imagine families, imagine schools, imagine our closest relationships with this experience
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of just listening,
Mm-hmm.
just listening.
True.
So I think like for instance, there are a lot of studies come out of Harvard and several other places where um, they say that many people wake up in the morning, and what is the first thing that most people do when they wake up? They reach for their phone. Imagine what we are allowing ourselves to do through our day.
Mm-hmm.
We are allowing a phone, a technology to
Mm-hmm.
guide our thoughts and guide our day. And many brilliant masters, Robin Sharma, Ariana Huffington, and several others. If you look deeper into some of their suggestions, they say switch your phone off at night.
True.
Yeah, because there is a tendency to check the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and many of the people in our current generation have trouble sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is a very small example. Why am I talking about this? Because if you're not listening to your body is exhausted, your mind is exhausted, but you're not paying attention
Mm-hmm.
because you're too busy caught up in the noise. You're afraid maybe someone is going to judge you or say you're
Mm-hmm.
not working hard enough. Maybe your boss or your manager has sent you something. Immediately you need to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately
Mm-hmm.
you need to get on your phone. What is the rush? What is the immediateness of things right now? So I think that even at this level, at our body level, at our mind level, we must be able to cultivate deep listening, honor ourselves, honor our well-being,
Mm-hmm.
and even in our relationships as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just one example that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good example, really. I mean, as you gave a very brilliant example of telephone, people are addicted to their phones 24/7 because everything, be it music, be it, connection with the outside world, connection with your own, network, like, your professional network, everything is controlled by this smartphone. They call it smartphone. But with
Yeah,
this smartphone, I think we are not becoming smart. We are becoming even more, I would say, dull. We are going backwards. I mean, technology should be easing up things for us, but what is happening is we are not listening to our own mind. We are not listening to our own
yeah,
body, and we're going. We're just going without any direction. There is no. It's distracting. It's not a gadget that is making us have everything in one place, but it's kind of distracting us all the time. Because, I mean, if you take example of WhatsApp, if you are a member of at least 4 or 5 groups, constantly, even if you keep it on no notifications off, it is buzzing,
yeah.
and it is distracting you from your immediate activities. Like, if you write down, for today I'm going to do these 5 things, you write in your agenda, are you actually able to have 5 ticks at the end of the day? It's a question mark. If you
Yeah.
listen to your body, if you listen to your brain, if you listen to what you need to do, you can do it. But because we're in a mad rush, we want to have all possible information, we want to be everywhere, and what is happening is we're not listening to our inner self, and that is affecting our
Absolutely.
mental health. That is affecting our mental health. People are going crazy. The likes on a media post decides how popular you are. Come on, since when did we give that right to a like or a dislike, whether we are good or bad? People are just becoming more and more judgmental. People are more becoming emotional by seeing these kind of things. So how do you think people can deal with it, Caroline? Is there a way that people should listen or ignore, or what should they do?
There are many ways. I think this conversation itself, we brought up a couple of things. So, one is being educated, and the question is why, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe some telltale signs about your health and well being. If you're depressed, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're
Mm-hmm.
irritable and moody, if you're not able to, like you said, finish what you started,
Mm-hmm.
if you're having trouble in your relationships. Um, yeah, so these are some areas that can be indicative that something needs your attention. It needs
Mm-hmm.
your attention. It needs your listening.
True.
And that's when you can show up. I think showing up for ourselves is a very brave thing.
Mm-hmm.
In today's day and age, we are quick to go on social media, talk about things,
Mm-hmm.
and even talking about it is a distraction because
Mm-hmm.
it avoids us from dealing with it, from
Mm-hmm.
managing it.
True.
It's a
True.
deflection, right? It's a very unconscious deflection. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, paying attention, switching your phone off when it's not required, going into silence. I think
Mm-hmm.
silence is something we do not understand as a civilization at this point. Practicing some form of getting back to nature. So it could be a nature walk, it could be meditation,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, looking at a flower. Just staring at a flower is a very profound experience.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding the beauty and simplicity
Mm-hmm.
and really being able to go deep into these experiences, not at a surface level.
All right, all right. That's a very good piece of advice. So, I mean, if people actually follow these advices, if people actually pay attention to these advice, they can actually come out of what they are facing. But the question is, even if we say education, even if we say meditation, walking out in the nature, people know these things. It's not that this is something completely new, people are not aware. People know it, but still they don't follow.
Yeah. Yeah, to that point, what I want to kind of build on is practice. You
Hmm.
know, even in coaching, as a coach, as someone who has been coached myself,
Hmm.
this is part of the frame of why getting a coach, or why, if you feel that you're slipping and you're
Hmm.
not able to focus on an area that you want to stabilize in your life, get a coach, get the right resources, but
Hmm.
practice. Because see, the brain, you know, we understand through NLP right now and neuroplasticity.
Hmm.
You know, earlier we used to, the belief was that beyond a certain age you cannot change, but NLP has completely, you know, dismissed that belief. We
Hmm.
now know that regardless of age, you can learn a new habit, and it's only because we are habituated to a certain way of doing things
Hmm.
that we don't change. So
Hmm.
practice every day, incrementally let go of an old habit
Hmm.
and be able to make space for something new in your life.
Very true, very true. Practice makes a man perfect. These are
I don't
proverbs.
know about perfection, but I certainly know there is something called up leveling.
See, when we say perfection, it's like, there's nothing like, you're ultimately there, because if you are there, then there's no challenge. You are not aspiring for something extra. But as there's this proverb, practice makes you perfect. So you have to keep on doing, like when you play
Yeah.
games, you can beat yourself. You can just, go against, like you have a set challenge, you were a winner, or you were having that particular badge. But if you keep on practicing, keep on playing, who knows, you beat your own score and go even
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah, look at so coaching has kind of originated from sports coaching, right? It
Mhm.
kind of permeated into business and life and all these other areas that we now find coaches in.
Mhm,
But it's
mhm,
not a new concept. We've had, you know, coaches, and if you look at even scriptures, there are guides and facilitators for many of the kings and things like that. So
mhm,
this is not a new concept, because I think a lot of times we require that. We require and someone who is neutral, who wants our best interest, and
mhm.
who will push us beyond our comfort zone. Because it's very easy to slip into a comfort zone. It's very easy for the ego to deny, you know, an area that's not working for us because we don't
True.
want to change at a very,
Mhm.
very fundamental level.
Very true, very true. So, as a coach or as a woman, if I bring it down a little bit more, as a coach and as a woman, do you feel more people are having these kind of issues? Do you have more male or more females coming to you to solve these kind of issues or discuss these issues?
You know, quite honestly, if now that you put it that way, I think, you know, it's a human thing. It
Mhm,
doesn't really matter whether you're a man or a woman. I have men as well as women whom I
mhm,
facilitate growth for.
mhm,
A lot of times, you know, we think that, you know, I was on Alnoor's show last night, and we
mhm,
were talking about how, you know, for many men there is hesitation to come out and cry
mhm, mhm.
and to talk about things that they're struggling with, which is
True.
all internalized. And, you know, that's the reason you'll probably find a lot more men that suffer from heart attacks and anxiety attacks and collapsing with, you know, exhaustion and things like that.
Mhm.
But I also have to add that we have a growing number of masculine women as well. It's not just a man thing. We have
True.
women who are, you know, go-getters, who are termed as, you know, being very, very aggressive, very ambitious, and things like
Mhm,
that, who
mhm.
also equally find it hard to be vulnerable, who also find it equally hard to open up about these things, not to the world, but to herself.
Herself.
And I have been there. I will
Mhm,
admit that for a very long time, I have been there, and I'm still working on several of my biases. It's an ongoing journey,
mhm,
but recognition of it, admittance, not to the
mhm,
world again, to yourself, is a
mhm,
very powerful stage to be at. Because when you start to observe, you know,
mhm,
what it is that's coming in my way of my growth, then you can start to grow. Because otherwise you're denying it, you're saying, no, I'm not that, you know,
mhm.
that person is that, it's not me, but it is me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right?
Very true, very true. Like when everything is going fine, we are happy. We never complain. We are happy about it. Like it's me, I'm doing it. But the moment there is a problem, there's an issue, we start pointing fingers. We start blaming others. Whether it's at work, the moment there's an issue, you don't want to take the blame of that thing on yourself. You start blaming other people. And of course, sometimes deep down, you are at fault. There is a mistake, there is a problem, but you're too, I would say your ego is too big to admit that you are at
Yeah.
mistake.
And
So
this is for all of us. It's not,
exactly,
this,
for
there might be
everyone.
levels and grades, but all of us go through this.
Hmm. Everyone goes through it, but like as you said, there are more men suffering, because they're not able to I would say spit it out. If there's a thing that they're having problem, I think
Women
women.
too. It's not just men.
But I have seen, like in my circles, I would say, or maybe women tend to at least cry. Women tend to say it by crying it out or becoming, because they're so emotional. I see that women are more emotional, so sometimes they are able to spit it out by crying. It's like it could be like a very cultural thing. Men has to be strong, men have to be like have that persona. Even if inside they're crying, inside they are like super emotional, hyper emotional, but they're not able to spit it out
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
person, as
I
a
want to
person.
build on something that you just said. I have a few more minutes because I have to jump on another interview
Yeah.
that I'm co-hosting.
Uh-huh.
But to the point of women opening up and crying and expressing themselves, I have to also add that and it's not just true for women, it's true for men as well. There
Mm-hmm.
is something called victim consciousness, and it is part of growth and development, and it is the most basic level that we all experience, we all
Mm-hmm.
view ourselves as. So
Mm-hmm.
it might be necessary, and this is for all of our viewers watching in as well, to
Mm-hmm.
understand which, because there are different facets to life, right? If you look at like the wheel of life, you have your health, you have your your relationships, you have your business, your money, your personal growth, your leisure. All these are different facets.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, it might be important for you to take a step back to understand where it is you see yourself as a victim. And
Mm-hmm.
all of us without exception unconsciously ascribe a certain victim state to some level.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
crying, while it might be good and cathartic, it's also necessary to distinguish how you're feeling. Are you
Mm-hmm.
feeling like a victim? Are you feeling less? Are you feeling inferior
Mm-hmm.
versus someone else, comparing yourself to someone else? So, this is a very, there are layers to what we're talking about, and we can go on. But I just wanted to kind of open up that piece that you brought up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a very good piece that you shared right now, Caroline. It's great how you summed up, the things in terms of it's not a man thing, it's not a woman thing. It is a very general thing. Some are more affected and some are less affected. Very rightly said. So, on a concluding note, right, I would like you to tell a little bit in detail to our viewers, what is your take on how people should nourish their minds? What can they do about it? How they can be a better person of what they are now? How can they evolve?
I think we all have scope to grow and advance. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe there's anyone who is exceptional and away from scope of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, being able to understand that the mind is not you,
Mm-hmm.
our mind is not us, right? It is a very, very slippery, tricky aspect of who we are, but it is not us.
Mm-hmm.
And so one is that, right? The recognition of that. The other is to understand what is focus, what is attention, what is intention,
Mm-hmm.
and to nourish those parts of your mind, because it is constructive, and it is important to, when you want to grow, to establish an intention, to focus on it, and to recognize that there are going to be slip ups, there are going to be experiences where you will feel like everything is falling apart,
Mm-hmm.
and that is also okay. It's okay to feel like that. The other thing is to practice. Understand that there are several resources: buy books, go online for courses, get a coach to strengthen your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is a brilliant, especially if you want to grow and advance, in terms of being able to recognize the shadow
Mm-hmm.
self, understanding ego. Meditation is very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, be open to know that we can't know everything. It's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
And understand that shame, guilt, doubt, fear are
Mm-hmm.
all part of the lower frequency of human consciousness, victim
Mm-hmm.
consciousness. And we can get rid of that. We can let go of it, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
process. It's an ongoing process with the right practices, the right
Mm-hmm.
tools.
It has to be consistent, right? It has to be
Yes,
consistent. It's like ongoing.
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. That's a very good and valuable piece of information that you just shared with our viewers. I'm sure they're going to
Thank you.
benefit a lot listening to you. So, guys, that is Caroline Fernandes for you, global inspirational women who, because of what she speaks and how she speaks, makes an impact globally. We listen to
Thank you,
her,
my dear.
we
Thank
listen to
you, and
her
I
and we
really
like
honor.
her. We listen to her
So
and we like
sweet.
her because of the
Thank you.
conviction with which you say it's amazing. And you really inspire a lot of people. And I hope you keep inspiring our generations in the future just by your talks and the way you speak about anything and everything with a message that just penetrates instantly in our hearts.
Thank you so much. Most honored for your time, your intention, and for having me on your show. And thank you, everyone, for watching in.
Thank you. Take care till the next time we meet. Bye bye.
Bye.